manager, our staff and employees, and most of all our citizens and those in attendance this evening. And we pray this in Christ's name. Amen.
Let us stand and salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a motion to receive and file the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Hearings and reports. Commissioners, I hope you'll let me start. I've got a couple things. First off, I want to wish Commissioner Good a very happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
29, right?
29.
29. And I have 3 proclamations today, so we have a full schedule. I'm going to start with the first proclamation is, whereas March is the month women are celebrated around the world, and whereas the City of Ashland would like to recognize the week of March 22nd through 26th as Women's Week, and whereas there will be a poster board set up at Broadway Square, and whereas to allow women to leave a message to encourage, empower, and inspire other women throughout the city. Now therefore, I, Matt Perkins, Mayor of Ashland, do proclaim March 22nd through 26th, 2021 as Celebrate Women's Week in Ashland. My mother is a strong woman, and I'm honored to be her son, and I appreciate all the women that are raising us men throughout our community. Very, very much appreciate it. I know Commissioner Clark, you were working on this one.
Thank you.
So I appreciate your pushing this through.
The proclamation. Thank you.
The second one is we're going to recognize a really wonderful organization. Whereas March is American Red Cross Month, a special time to honor the kindness of our neighbors who aid families in need locally and across the United States and around the world. Their dedication touches millions of lives each year as they carry out the organization's 140-year mission of preventing and alleviating suffering. And whereas during these trying times of COVID, people have stepped up to help others in need, whether responding to disasters or by donating blood, and to whereas local families have relied on local volunteers for comfort and hope while coping with home fires, floods, and more. The local volunteers helped over 700 families impacted by home fires in Central Appalachian region by addressing their urgent need for food, lodging, and recovery support. And whereas in 2020, the Red Cross collected over 30,000 units of life-saving blood and provided COVID-19 testing to every donor, while also providing 3,000 services to military members, veterans, and their families. And whereas the life-saving work is vital to strengthening our community's resilience. Nearly 200 years since the birth of the American Red Cross founder, Clara Barton, we dedicate this month of March to all those who continue to advance her noble legacy, and we ask others to join in their commitment to care for other people. Now, I, Matt Perkins, Mayor of Ashland, proclaim the month of March 2021 American Red Cross Month. Do we have any representatives from the Red Cross here? Okay, there we go. Well,
And actually, I'll just say, the Red Cross is meeting in their board meeting right now, so they could not send a representative. I am on that board as well, and so I will accept that on their behalf and take that to them. Thank you.
and I do personally want to thank the Red Cross, the local chapter. They were instrumental in getting cots for our warming center so that we had beds for folks there, and I just thank them for their support. They also did provide financial assistance to a couple individuals who lost their homes to tree damage. So it was very critical that they were a part of that team. The final one will be a proclamation for something that we're just now really, I think, focusing on. It's social and emotional learning. Whereas social and emotional learning, SEL, is the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, and achieve personal and collective goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain supportive relationships, and make responsible and caring decisions. And whereas SEL competencies develop throughout our lives and are essential to success in our schools, workplaces, homes, and communities, and to allow individuals to contribute meaningfully to society. And whereas SEL can be taught and developed throughout childhood, adolescence, and beyond. And whereas school families and the wider community must be engaged to enhance the strength, depth, and pace of acquisition of SEL competencies, and whereas supporting SEL is the wise use of public resources so that there can be long-term social and economic benefits to the society from the implementation of evidence-based SEL. Now, therefore, I, Matt Perkins, Mayor of Ashland, do proclaim Friday, March 26th as Social Emotional Day here in Ashland. Do we have any representatives? Would you all come up and receive your proclamation?
Okay, perfect.
You want to get a picture?
Sure. Where would you like to
Right
sit in the middle?
there.
Okay.
You all want to come? You all mind?
No, not at all.
We'll get the whole group in here.
One, two, three. One, two, three. One, two, three.
Proclamation last time. Appreciate
Yes,
it all.
thank you so much. Thank you for advocating for this. Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I go to our commissioners for any comments.
I was only gonna wish Marty a happy birthday, so that's been done.
You did it. Commissioner Good?
I just welcome everybody. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. I'm blessed to be here. I'm happy to be here. And I just had a few that I was in Kiwanis yesterday and heard a presentation by our new executive director of Visit Ashland, Randy Clark, and she made a great presentation. And she represents our city well. And talking about all the upcoming projects that we have on tap. And it was just a great presentation. I encourage you to go down there and look at the remodeling that's been done at that location. And it is refreshing, the remodeling of the job down there. It's hard to believe that a couple weeks ago we were freezing to death and our power was out. But I've fielded a lot of calls today about brush and about flames and so forth, and directed them to that website, which is, I think, is very, very helpful. The website we have on the city website about the removal of branches and so forth. That's all I have.
Marty, I talked to Judge Cheney early in the week, and he told me on the first day that they opened that they collected 71 tons of storm debris, wood, branches, whatever, that they're burning at the bridge department. But 71 tons the very first day. So it's being used as it should be.
And I really appreciate the cooperation between the county, the city of Catlettsburg, and the city of Ashland. Because of our efforts to work together on this, we're using the same company to handle our whole county, and all cities included, and I think it's efficient, to say the least, and cost effective. Commissioner Spriggs, do you have anything?
Yeah, I want to thank our mayor for making this week celebrate Women's Week. You know, the month of March is Women's History Month, and it would give us all, probably, it would be a good thing for all of us to remember women who have made inroads that we women still get to do today, for instance, voting. And I have to say, I was only the 4th woman in the history of the city to be elected city commissioner. Paula Holson and I were elected at the same time, number 3 and 4. You think about how old our city is, so, you know, I have a lot of women in history to thank for, we all do, for being able to vote and other things. So I'm really, really happy for that. I want to say one thing. I would like to discuss at the next meeting the possibility of looking at an ordinance that was passed in August 2020 last year that has to do with SMV, slow-moving vehicles. I'd like to take a look at the possibility of altering that to allow our senior citizens who have these type of vehicles just to travel in their neighborhood to be able to do that. So rather than do it tonight, I want everybody to be prepared so we can have a discussion at the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So to expound on Commissioner Goo's point a little bit, one of the first things I do every morning when I go to work is I check the numbers. I check our COVID rates, where we are as a state and where we are as a country. Now, so I'm going to preface my comments by saying this. Obviously, we're going to continue to watch those numbers. Everybody does. And continue to be safe and follow the regulations. But as we look around the country, around the state, we see that cities are starting to prepare themselves for post-COVID life. Now, of course, we're going to continue to be safe, but projections that we're starting to see from different places, the city manager told us about this as well. You're starting to see cities anticipating what's going to happen, and as far as revenue and as far as people coming back to their downtowns and their cities. So one thing that we've talked about, I've tried to really start to think about, is how we come out post-COVID after we've obviously, numbers have to get where they have to get and regulations as well, but really starting to look at, and tourism has been awesome through, Brandy has done an amazing job with tourism. There's kind of a new sense, especially online, of downtown Ashland. She's built really an online presence there. And the Paramount is, they have really struggled through 2020, and I'm on board there. And what Holly and David and the team there, what they're going to do this year is they've got some amazing things that they're working on. Obviously conditional on what happens with COVID, but it feels like our city is in a place to really come out of this when we're able to come out of it. And not wait until then, but to be working on a strategy for that. So, I say that to let our citizens know that there are people thinking about that and thinking about how to not, how to be ready for life after, and to look around at different things that are happening. We've got a lot to be excited about to come out of this. So, I really want to convey, kind of share that excitement and to convey what we're looking at as far as that. And this board, I'm proud to be a part of this board and this team, because I think this is a group that can really look at our businesses. We have a lot of experience and knowledge, not just here, but in our city team, to help our businesses come out of this in the best way possible. We've got several new businesses downtown across the city. So, I just really want to kind of put out there a feeling of I don't know if excitement is the right word, because obviously we're still cautious. But where we are as a city, and the excitement that a lot of people have about our downtown especially is something that, I live downtown, so I see the people that visit the statues. I see people, I can see the mural out my front window, and I see people taking pictures literally on the weekends. It's all the time. So there's a feeling about Ashland that's building. We're going to continue to see everything that we can do to foster that feeling and put us in the best position we can be. So I just want to really reiterate that point and let citizens know that we're thinking about that.
Sounds like we might need a party.
Feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
May I add a couple of things to that, and I apologize. I was thinking about it as Commissioner Blanton was speaking. Just a couple of sort of reports from my positions that I serve the city. Obviously, Ashland in Motion, we are moving forward with hiring a new director. So that is good news, because we have not had a director this year because of COVID. And of course, our director resigned. And so we actually are going to start interviews tomorrow and into next week to get the new Ashland in Motion director hired. So just to make you guys aware of that.
That's good news. I've had many citizens already messaging me wanting to know when First Friday will start. But to complement Commissioner Blanton's comments, as we look at tweaking things, I do want to bring up under new business, just to let the board know that I'd like to add that we would extend the deadline for the net profits and individual occupational tax to match the new federal deadline, which will be May 17th instead of April as it traditionally has been. So we'll be looking forward to that at the end of the meeting. Okay. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Two quick things, just to pile on what Commissioner Bland had said. I found it humorous the other day. I was was over at Mill Street Cafe, and somebody was talking about Broadway Square, and they're like, "Why aren't we doing any activities down there?" You know, kind of about COVID. I mean, I think as we go through this transition, we're all excited to utilize that facility and a lot of other things that are happening here. In that same vein, the staff, which is very well represented here tonight, continues to work really diligently on a wide variety of things to posture us for that when we can take these masks off, hopefully move around safely and get to those events. And the canvas that's being created for these events and activities to occur. Part of that narrative also, I do want to remind you all that at the next BOC meeting on the Board of Commissioners meeting on the 8th of April, we're going to have Stephen Sewell from Polymer Engineering is going to discuss the transportation study, the downtown transportation study that has been working over the last couple of months. Just a reminder, Cuyahoga was the ones who facilitated this, and then KYTC gave the money for us to have this at no cost to do this initial study. So that's going to be very exciting. Encourage folks to attend. And then one last thing, the spring comes in, a reminder to our citizens and businesses, please don't spray your grass into the road. Frankly, it's against the ordinance, but more importantly, it causes a lot of problems for us drain-wise. It is a finable offense. I hate to go negative on that, but it does cause us tremendous problems. So to our citizens and businesses, please make sure you blow that back into your yard. Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. All right. With that being said, we'll move on to public participation for items not listed on the agenda. And is there anything specifically not city related you'd like to talk about? Would anybody? Yeah. Would anybody like to speak? All right. We thank all those for attending today. We'll move on to old business.
Item A, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Ashland and MAG Services LLC to provide electrical engineering design services for the water pump station emergency generator installation project in an amount not to exceed $37,200 for the Department of Engineering."
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Item B, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky amending the zoning map, the official zoning ordinance of the City of Ashland, number 101, series of 1986, as previously amended by changing the zoning classification of property located at 1116 Bath Avenue from R4, multi-single family residential high density, to B2, general business."
So moved.
Any discussion? I do want to comment, looks like the project there is looking like it's moving along. At least literally down the street it moved, but anytime anybody invests in our city, we're grateful. So we're very fortunate to have folks there on that corner where there wasn't anything before. So we're appreciative. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Item C, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of Ashland and Floyd County Sanitary Landfill, Inc., Rumpke, for a suitable landfill location for the receipt and disposal of compacted garbage and refuse, rubble, and rubbish collected by the City of Ashland for a period of 1 year in an amount not to exceed $17.75 per ton for the Department of Public Services Division of Sanitation."
Second.
Any discussion?
I just wanted to ask City Manager, did you mention to me that, what does Rumpke charge us for our recyclates per ton?
What they charge for recycling?
Yeah, per ton, when they pick up the recycling.
It is, well, we haven't done it since COVID started.
Yeah, I know that, but what, do you remember what the cost per ton was?
Per ton, no, but I do remember that it's approximately $1,800 per month for the pickup of those 20 bins.
I was just wondering how it compared to, okay.
Oh, yeah.
They're the only ones that bid.
Sorry?
They're the only ones that bid.
Yeah, I was just wondering how it compared to the 1770.
Broadly speaking, and I'm shooting from the hip here, it's 3 to 4 times as expensive to do the recycling. I can do a deep dive on that if you'd like, Commissioner.
I'll check with you.
And also, while we're talking about recycling, I know it's been brought up before, but if we could get a timeline as to when we think we could reopen the recycling center so that we could present that to the public, I'd appreciate that.
Yes.
Yes.
Will do, ma'am.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Item D, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with U.S. Alco LLC for the purchase of aluminum sulfate at a price of $1.05 per gallon for the Department of Utilities, Division of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Item E, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Shannon Chemical Corporation for the purchase of potassium permanganate in the amount of $1.77 per pound for the Department of Utilities, Division of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment.
So moved.
Second.
Jim, I think you mispronounced that.
I'm pretty sure I did, yeah.
Just check, just so you know. Any discussion?
I may phonetically spell it next time.
All in favor?
I feel so bad for you in this meeting.
Any opposed? Okay.
Item F, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Sitco Water for the purchase of sand at a unit price of 17 cents per pound for the Department of Utilities, Division of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment.
So moved.
If only they could all be like that.
You nailed it, Jim. You nailed it. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Item G, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Polyvine Inc. for the purchase of liquid polymer for the water treatment plant at a price of $12.09 per gallon, liquid polymer, and the wastewater treatment plant at a price of $11.61 per gallon, and polymer catatonic at a price of $1.94 per pound for the Department of Utilities, Divisions of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
Do we have a second? Okay. All right.
Cheryl Moore.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Item H, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Brentag Mid South Inc. for the purchase of liquid caustic soda at a price of 7 cents per gallon, liquid sodium permanganate at a price of $7.80 per gallon, powdered activated carbon at a price of $1.06 per pound, hydrofluorosilicic acid at a price of $2.36 per gallon, liquid chlorine at a price of $509 per ton, sodium hypochlorite at a price of 79 cents per gallon, and sulfur dioxide at a price of $739 per ton for the Department of Utilities, Division of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Item I, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Chemtrade Chemicals US LLC for the purchase of polyaluminum chloride at a unit price of $1.47 per gallon for the Department of Utilities, Divisions of Wastewater Treatment and Water Production.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Item J, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, granting to the Ashland Tourism Commission the amount of $25,000, representing the amount of grant funds received from the American Electric Power Foundation for the purpose of downtown development.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I abstain.
One abstention. Any opposed? Okay.
Item K, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashe, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a master services agreement between the City of Ashland and BC3 Inc. for the professional services regarding computer system and network maintenance to be performed pursuant to a work order upon request by the City of Ashland."
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Item L, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a work order between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and BC3 Inc., whereby BC3 Inc. will become the City of Ashland's Microsoft Office 365 tenant and licensing provider upon expiration of the city's current licensing on March 31, 2021, in the amount of $33,681.12 annually.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Consent agenda?
I need item 1 removed, or I just need to abstain from the whole thing, however you want me to do it.
Probably the easiest, we can do it either way, if you want to abstain from the
I'll
whole
just
thing.
abstain, since
Usually not a
I
problem.
can't vote on the
Okay.
chair.
Consent agenda is a resolution of the City of Ashe, Kentucky adopting, authorizing, and approving the course of action presented by the city manager on the items appearing on the consent agenda for the regular meeting of the Board of City Commissioners of March 25th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
I'm going to take a moment to read through this real quick before we... Everybody's good? Okay. Any discussion then? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. One abstention? All right.
New business. Item A. First reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement between the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet and the City of Ashland for participation in the design of the Dawes Street Rehabilitation Project at a cost of $49,000 to be paid by the City of Ashland in matching funds."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Item B is first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement between the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet and the City of Ashland for participation in the design of the Winchester Avenue Streetscape project between 7th Street and 12th Street and 18th Street through 21st Street at a cost of $50,000 to be paid by the City of Ashland in matching funds."
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
Just a note for the public's benefit, these are matching funds for awards. The first one we voted on a second ago it's actually $196,000, and the other one is $200,000, and those are contingent on funds being available out of the 2022 budget. So I'm just making the public aware of that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Item C, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting the revised job description for the positions of maintenance worker 1 in the Division of Streets and maintenance workers 1 and 3 in the Division of Flood Wall, all in the Department of Public Services, of the Policies and Procedures Compensation Plan and Classification Plan as adopted by ordinance number 51, series of 2017 as previously amended."
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Item D, reading and adoption of a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a legal representation and engagement agreement between the City of Ashland, Kentucky, Grab Martin Law Office PLLC and Bay Cook Cantley and Menefkesburg PLC, and an addendum between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Will Hoyt Law Offices for professional legal services for claims related to the opioid litigation in the Commonwealth of Kentucky."
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Well, I do, Jim, if you could just elaborate a little bit for the public.
Sure. This involves a national class action that has been filed against 13 defendants, which are the primary manufacturers of opioid and the primary pharmaceutical distributors. It includes within the class all the cities and counties that have suffered from the opioid crisis. Basically, you are a part of that class and you remain in the class action unless you opt out. But you can have individual representation if and when there's a settlement, and it is anticipated that there will be a settlement at this at some point. Individual representation is advantageous to try and get a bigger slice of the pie, if you will. If you're not represented, you're still going to have attorney fees assessed against you. You're going to pay your percentage of attorney fees for the national attorneys, but if you have this local representation, you'll have got some bang for your buck, in other words. So we have a firm out of Louisville that's representing a lot of the cities in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, as well as Will White's firm from Grayson, who I know very well and worked with a lot. And this is a contingent fee agreement, so we would only pay any fees or costs if in fact there's a settlement and we recover, and any allocation of those fees would be subject to approval by the judge in the class action suit. Now, it is anticipated that I think there's 4 or 5 of these defendants. There's some anticipation that there may fairly soon be a settlement somewhere. I believe it was in the neighborhood of $26 billion or something like that. But they'll be allocated over 50 states, and even when there's a gross settlement amount, then the determination of how that's going to be distributed among various cities and counties and states, there'll be a lot left to do. But the bottom line is that we need to get in line and get as much as we can from any settlement that takes place, because certainly we all know, and our police department knows, we've suffered as much as anybody in the country probably as a result of this opioid problem, and some recovery of funds that could be used to apply to possible solutions to that problem would be a good thing.
Well, I think all of us here vigorously support going after any restitution, if you will, to satisfy the horrific losses that we've had with deaths, job loss because of addiction. I mean, every family has been touched by it, and it's encouraging to see us going after this.
We had a city manager and I had a telephone conference with these attorneys about a week or 10 days ago, and we discussed with them some of the potential ways that might be used to decide how these allocations were made. And one of the things they talked about was that there was a national database that would show how much of these opioids were delivered through pharmacies. But we pointed out in that discussion that, and one of the reasons I think that some individualized representation can be advantageous is that, as bad as that was, in this area there was a pipeline coming in from Florida and other places that wouldn't be reflected in that was being delivered and consumed here, and that there probably would be ways to identify that and to argue for a greater participation for us in that. And that was information they probably weren't aware of, and we hope to be able to continue to have a dialogue with them and do the best we can on this. Everybody wants to get their share, but we just want to make sure we get a fair share.
I appreciate your all's efforts on that. All right, do we need to make a... Let's go ahead and have a vote then. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Item E, the mayor requests concurrence of the Board of Commissioners on the appointment of Rachel Branham to the Human Rights Commission to fulfill an unexpired term through January 1, 2022.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Item F, mayor requests concurrence of the Board of Commissioners on the new appointment of Charles Jackson to the Human Rights Commission to fill an unexpired term through January 1st, 2022.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And at this point, Jim, do we need to make a formal resolution to push that deadline back, or can we do that without board action?
No, I think we should. What's the date of our next meeting? Probably what would make me happiest was if we did a municipal order on April 8th that said that we were extending that to May 17th, so there'd be an official record, official action. And I can prepare that and put that on the agenda.
That'd be fine.
I think we can go ahead and publicize it is our intention that will be done, so people will know. Maybe we can put it on our website or whatever, that we
Yeah,
anticipate
because that would just put
that
them a
happen.
week ahead of the
Deadline.
deadline and that.
Yeah, so we probably need to get the word out now that that's gonna happen, but just for our record keeping, it would be preferable to have it done that way.
Sure. All right, then, if there's no other business, make a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.